On Yud Zayin Amin Aleph. Itmar, about 10 lines down. So we left off with discussing the different opinions about how big of the enclosure it could be when you're dealing with these makeshift type of one-dimensional enclosures, only vertical, only horizontal. Different opinions. We had mentioned four different opinions in the Mishnah as to what you're allowed to do. So let's see about a new circumstance that comes up in this type of scenario. Itmar, Shloisha. So you had three. Remember, three is the criteria for Shayara. That allows us to move the group into the level of a caravan. And once it's a Shayara, then we gave you more space, right? So if it was different opinions, but basically if you weren't ready to go carte blanche, then if it was two, they give you two saws. But if it's three people, then you go more. Then you're given more than two saws, two base saws. So what happens if you start with three? Unfortunately, one of the three dies on Shabbos. So your base saw, your limitation now kicks in, or maybe not. In other words, maybe when Shabbos comes, they were fine because you had three people. Three people allowed more than two base saws. But now that you're back to two, maybe you can't carry. It's too big of an area for you to be allowed to carry with only two people. So circumstances change on the ground on Shabbos. How do we deal with that? So one more time, he started off with three when Shabbos came, but one of them died. Or Shnayim, you start off with two, and now you have a third. So the third guy moved into the neighborhood. What does that do in terms of changing the rules? Rav Huna Rav Yitzchak says machlokes between these two Amoraim, Rav Huna Rav Yitzchak, Chadam Shabbos Goremes v'Chadam Diyarin Gormin. One says Shabbos is the cause for the halacha. Namely, so whenever Shabbos, whatever the status was when Shabbos came, that's the way we are. And when things don't change on middle of Shabbos. The Chadam, the other one says, no, the Yorin Garmin. It's the people who live there that cause either the prohibition or the allowance. And even though things change on Shabbos, okay, doesn't matter. But when they change, they change. So either you have more allowability or you'll have less, depending on whether it went 2 to 3 or 3 to 2. Okay, let's catch up on the Rashis here. Let's see here. Yeah, umeis echad mehem. So about almost to the middle, not quite the middle of the page in Rashi. Umeis echad mehen b'yom Shabbos. One of them died on Shabbos, or you started with two v'nitaisu aleihem b'Shabbos. Somebody moved in on Shabbos and said, "Oh, I'm so glad I found this area. Can I join the group?" And by joining the group, it turned it into a caravan. So one Maniyama says Shabbos Goremes Shloisha Umeis Echad Mehen. In the case of three people, and one of them died, Hoyel v'Gorma Shabbos Lahatir. Okay, since Shabbos was the impetus when Shabbos hit, that caused the allowance to have a larger space and two base saws because you did have a caravan. Mutar Nashnayim. So the other two, so now the two are allowed to carry. I feel Rabbi Yehuda. Even according to Rabbi Yehuda, Mutar Hashleim Afilu Rabbi Yehuda, Afilu Rabbi Yehuda Shnayim veKifu Yosim Beisasayim. Even according to Rabbi Yehuda, that two that were surrounded for more than two saws, with more than two base saws, Afishin Tosfo Aleihin Diorin Asurin. Okay, so in the other case too, in other words, it's when you start off with three and you go two, you start off with two and you go three. Just want to say this again one more time. Let's read this one more time. Shabbos Gremis Shleishu Meisechem. In the case where you have three and one of them dies, Hayil v'Garma Shabbos Lahatir. Since Shabbos, when it came in, caused the allowance to kick in because you had three. Mutarn Hashnayim Afil Rabbi Yehuda. okay, then the two are allowed to carry, even according to Rabbi Yehuda, because who's more stringent about it, he'll say no, but Shabbos hit, it was mutter, okay. Shnayim vikifu Yosim Beis Yisayim. Okay, now if you had two starting Shabbos, yeah, so you need a little comma there. Okay, if you had two and it was surrounded more than Beis Saz, okay, which at that point according to Yehuda means you couldn't carry when Shabbos came. Okay, even though two people can't, but three people can, and now that third person joins you on Shabbos, so maybe would now Rabbi Yehuda, who would say you couldn't carry, now would he admit that you could carry based on the change on the ground? Assume Rabbi Yehuda, Shabbos Garmal Iser. When Shabbos came, Iser was the order of the day. You couldn't carry because you didn't have the proper amount of people. The fact that you have it now on Shabbos doesn't change anything. So this is the position. Rashi just covering both ends of the equation of what the Shiloh was. 3 goes down to 2, 2 goes up to 3. Either way, the first opinion says Shabbos Goremes. The second opinion is Diorin Gorman. Gimel umeis echad mehen. Okay, when 3 start and one of them dies, the Batshid Diorin, when now you have too few Diorin to allow a greater amount than 2 Beisos, Asurim. It's usher to carry if you were surrounded by 2 Beisos. Again, according to Rabbi Yehuda, or the Chachamim would say it doesn't matter. They would say all is good, but we're talking now in Rabbi Yehuda who puts limitations on, and obviously makes a difference between the caravan and the non-caravan. But if it's 2 which became 3 now, you're good to go. So it's not about being machmir or being makel, it's really just about what's the determining factor. Is it the people or is it the Shabbos? Okay, so let's go back to the Gemara. It's time the Rav Huna who da'ama Shabbos Gremis. I'll prove to you that it's Rav Huna who says, right? Because we had 2 opinions. We didn't know who said what. Rav Huna said one, Rav Yitzchak said the other, but the Gemara was not able to define which one held which opinion. So now we're going to try to prove that. To Sayim, the Rav Huna who da'ama Shabbos Gremis, let's prove that Rav Huna is the one who says that once the day hits, once Shabbos hits, that's when you're fixed in to your position, regardless of whether it goes up or down. The Amar Rabbah, okay, because Rabbah said, Boim Rav Huna, Boim Rav Yehuda, I asked this Shaila both from Rav Huna and Rav Yehuda the Amira, okay, but clearly we're concerned, for us, Rav Huna is the one we're going to try to prove here, because he's the one in the Machlokes. Erev Derech HaPesach, let's say you made an Erev, this was a Shaila that I asked these 2 great Amoraim. If you make an Erev through an opening between 2 Chatzeros, Nistam Pesach, but oops, something came up on little Templar came up on Shabbos, and there goes the opening. So the access between the 2 Chatzeros is no longer there. Or derech hachalon, or you try to make you have access through a window, and that's how people can go from one chutzah to the other. And now you want to, and now unfortunately it closed up on Shabbos. So yeah, I don't know yet. I'm not sure if that's okay. Whatever. So we can imagine it. Things, earthquakes do happen, and things do get rocky and shaky. And the opening, which allowed the 2 chatzeros to merge, because you can't merge 2 chatzeros unless you have, access between the 2 of them. So one more time, Erev derech HaPesach v'nistam HaPesach, derech halon v'nistam HaChalon. We did it through the opening of the walls, windows. And don't mean glass windows. They just mean openings inside of walls that allow movement from one place to the other. V'nistam HaChalon, and things close up. Mahu. What's Allah? And Rav Huna, who I asked, answered me, Shabbos, hayel v'hutra. Okay, one Shabbos came, and you're allowed to carry between the 2 chatzeros. So if you can find another way in, maybe not quite as, right, there you have the chaloin, okay, right, that's a little window there in the 243, right, it's big enough, right, to carry things through from one era to the other. So you want to keep passing the cholent. One thing makes a cholent, the other one brings the chal, and they're exchanging things on Shabbos. Works, but now unfortunately that window closed up, and you don't have that same access. Obviously, you have some access, otherwise it wouldn't be a shaila. Yeah, or the other one, that's where the opening closed up, but you can still pass things maybe over. But the classical allowance that needed to be there when Shabbos came to allow you to merge it to Chatzeres is no longer there. So now can you rely on some makeshift thing which would never have been good enough before Shabbos, but maybe now once Shabbos came, is it good enough to rely on? And sure enough, the answer is yes. V'yamali Shabbos hayel v'utra hutra. Okay, Testayim. You've proven it. So now we can officially attribute the lenient, I shouldn't say, take that back, the position that Shabbos Goremes is Rav Huna's position. The issue of Diyorin Goremes is Rav Yitzchak's position. And we know now exactly which one held what. Okay, let's proceed. Lema Rav Huna Rav Yitzchak b'plukta Rav Yosi Rav Yehuda k'miflagi. So let's assume now and segue this machlokes about the 3 to 2 or 2 to 1 when you 2 to 3 when you have these people changing, in the area, either one died or one moved in. So that whole machlokes between Rav Yitzchak and Rav Huna l'chayra could fit right into this machlokes that we're about to learn between these two tanoim. And we know that generally the minute you do that and you try to pigeonhole an Amayra into a specific tana, he's going to resist. He's going to try to fight back if he can. So clearly this is not going to go down easy. But let's see. Lema Rav Huna, Rav Yitzchak, Paplukta, Rav Yosi, Rav Yehuda Kamifli. Can we say that they are arguing and they are exactly aligned with these two great Tanoim? The Tan, because we learned the Mishnah, Chatzar Shefret Samishtei Ruchaseham, a Chatzar that was breached from two sides. And because it's breached in this way, this would not be a valid Chatzar. There you have it, right there in 244. Nice little picture. Okay, nice wall there, fancy wall. So, you have this chutzner now breached. If you wanted to carry that chutzner, if that was the way it was before Shabbos, you wouldn't be allowed to, because that's not a normal Pesach, and therefore it would be seen as too big of a gap. It'd have to be closed up. But that breach happened on Shabbos. Okay, the Tan, or a house that became broken also from two of its corners, from two of its sides. Again, this is a breach of too unusual a place to be closed up simply because it's less than 10 amis. You can't use the argument of less than 10 amis when it's at such a critical catty corner situation. Or a mavi that this all happened on Shabbos, and a mavi that everything was fine going into Shabbos, but there's a beam thief in the neighborhood, and he walks away with your beam. Okay, as we sometimes walk out of our house, we find somebody actually took something from our front yard. Or the lechi that was placed on the thing has now been taken. So now do we have a mavi without a lechi or a mavi without a korah? And this thing happened late Friday night. So are we allowed to still carry? And there you see the house on 245. Okay, the house that's been breached. Okay, so what's halacha regarding carrying on Shabbos when these things happened on Shabbos? These breaches occurred, or these missing lechis or korahs occurred on Shabbos. We turn also Shabbos v'asur lo salavai. So for this Shabbos, we're going to cut you some slack, and we'll let you carry this Shabbos, but not for the next Shabbos. You better get your act together by next week. We're not going to allow this occurrence to keep going, and you'll keep saying.
All those cases, or just the case of the house?
No, all the cases. In all these cases, since when Shabbos came, it was okay to carry. The fact that right now you've got this unfortunate situation, it's not. We're not going to, again, because these are all rabbinic impositions or limitations. We're not going to impose those limitations when Shabbos came, things were good. Okay, so Divrei Rabbi Yehuda. Rabbi Yehuda, the great Tana, says it's mutter for that Shabbos, but it's asur lavai. So you've got 1 week to get yourself together and start getting out the plaster and finding new replacements. Rabbi Yosi Omer imutar le'asur Shabbos mutar le'asur lavai. Rabbi Yosi says, no, I'm not going to allow you to play that game. If it's good, it's good. If it's not good, it's not good. So if it's mutter for that Shabbos, that's mutter for next week. But But if it's not, the Masur Los Lavai, but it's also for next week, Asur Los Shabbos. It's also for now too. So there's no such concept that because Shabbos already started, you're allowed to carry, that therefore you're going to ignore the facts on the ground and basically say, go ahead and carry. That's not going to happen, according to Rabbi Yossi. So l'chayra, this sounds like a perfect segue between the same two issues that we just talked about amongst the Amoraim. Leima Rav Huna the Amar Rav Yehuda. Rav Huna, who is a Shabbos man, who says once Shabbos comes, right, that's the way it's going to be for this Shabbos. So he goes with Rav Yehuda. Rav Yitzchak the Amar Rav Yossi. And Rav Yitzchak, who says, no, I'm a facts on the ground man, and I look at how many people you have. If it went from 3 to 2, no. If you went from 2 to 3, yes. Because I look at the facts on the ground. So it's a perfect linkage between the Tana to the Amayra, to which both Amoraim fight back. Right? The Tanoim, don't really, they're holding their positions, and obviously they're not going to really care about the Amora per se. I mean, they're Tanoim, they preceded them, but it's Amoraim who want to really be able to be linked to both Tanoim. So what is each Amora going to say to unlink the linkage? So let's see here. So Leim Rav Huna Damar Rav Yehuda Rav Yitzchak Damar Rav Yossi. So Rav Huna says not so fast. Don't pigeonhole me. I know the Amra Fil Rav Yossi. I can agree even to Rav Yossi in the case of the breaching of the walls, that Rabbi Yossi says, what's good for next week is what dictates now. I'm not going to give you any allowances for Shabbos. Because Rabbi Yossi is adamant about the position of not allowing Shabbos to dictate the facts on the ground, because you're missing mechitzos. You got a breach in the wall. That's not a valid mechitza. You don't have the framework by which to even begin to carry. Hachis no mechitzos. By the case of the 3 and 2, right, you have mechitzos. You just don't have the people to justify those mechitzos. So there, it could be that when you're dealing with when the shortages are the people and not the mechitzos, maybe there Rabbi Yossi will be more lenient and allow Shabbos to dictate the terms. So that's why Rav Huna will say, I can agree, Rav Huna, that Rav Yossi would agree with me. Rav Yossi could agree with me. Rav Yitzchak, who says that you go with the facts on the ground, he certainly seems to align with Rav Yossi easily. What about Rav Yehuda? What will he say? Rav Yitzchak will say, Rav Yehuda, I can agree with Rav Yehuda. Rabbi Yehuda, when it comes to my case, would very possibly say the exact same thing I say. Why? Because Akal come Rabbi Yehuda Hasam. You know what Rabbi Yehuda says over there? That you're allowed to carry one Shabbos hits, El Disnu Yorin. Okay, mamish, almost the exact opposite kind of mentality. That you have the people there who are already there. Okay, and since the people are there, the chatzeros are there, you're just missing the wall. Well, but the people need, I guess their needs need to be met for Shabbos, and therefore, once you have the people in place that have the needs, then you're going to be able to carry. But over here, less yorin. You don't have the people that make the allowance. When you started with 3, now you're down to 2, or you started with 2 and now you're up to 3. It's, I guess he's focusing more on the case where it's chumrah. I'm saying there I have to machmir because of the fact that you don't have the diorin. In the case of the breach wall, you don't have the diorin, but I'm sorry. In the case of the breach wall, I'll be makel. But in case of the 3 to 2, you don't have the people living there that are required for that allowance, and therefore Rabbi Yehuda could agree with me. Rav Yitzchak says. Okay, let's catch up on the Rashis. Erev derech Pesach, v'nitzvah Pesach, right? I think that's where we're up to. So you made an Erev through the opening, and unfortunately the opening closed up. You had 2 courtyards. You had an opening between them that allowed you to have easy access, and therefore a merger is certainly possible. And as through that opening, where the two chatzeros can have interaction, they made an erev there. They put a box of matzah down. They did whatever you need to do. However, Pesach, but then unfortunately on Shabbos the opening became closed. Or you had two stores of Pesach Benem, the Irvu Al Nasa Pesach, where you also had an opening between two stores, and they made an Erev based on that opening that we have access. So I'll go into your, wine store, and you'll come into, my challah store, whatever it might be. V'achshav nistam b'Shabbos. It happened on Shabbos that it closed up. V'shafla connected at Polis. Some kind of a wall collapsed, and you have a problem now. Mahu, what's a lacha? Mi shori l'shtamushay derech shar chalonos hapsuchos midalid. Are you allowed to use the other openings that are less than dalid? Shein ru le'erev. That would real slave. They would never have been fitting for an erev originally, because in order to make an erev between two areas, you need to have good access, open access. Less than dalid, less than 4 tefachim is not considered valid access. I'm reading gabe per chalain, like we're going to learn later on the Fayin Vav. Okay, or chotz shifritza. B'Shabbos Mishnei Ruchoseha B'Farish Golgagos. My time in Nogad B'Beis Ruchoseha. The Gemara there will explain why we need the breach to be between two corners. Okay, as I mentioned, I alluded to, it's even if it's less than 10 amos, it's a bad breach because it's such a funny spot. Or Shnitlo Karoso or L'chayav B'Shabbos, or the beam or the lechi was taken on Shabbos, as happens. Sometimes, you make these makeshift Erevs in the hotels, for a hotel, and then all of a sudden, some worker came by, saw, what's this pole doing here, and just takes the pole. Mutar lois Shabbos. So it's mutar for that Shabbos. I'm reading Shabbos, one Shabbos came in and allowed you to carry, the allowance carries through for that Shabbos. Okay, Rabbi Yossi says nothing doing. Imuter leiser Shabbos and Farshinim per kol gagois. Rabbi Yossi leiser. Okay, he's going lechumra v'achi kamar. And what he means to say, really, even though he says in a little bit of a different language, his real point is kishem shasur and lasad lavoi. Just like it's us next week to carry under these circumstances, kach asur and leiser Shabbos. So too it's usher for this Shabbos. I'm not going to give you any special leeway. Clearly, he seems to not buy into this concept of Rav Yitzchak. I'm not to buy into the concept of Rav Huna, but he follows Rav Yitzchak. That I'm going with this hutra business. That once Shabbos came was mutter, remains mutter the rest way. I'm not going to go in that direction, and therefore let's assume they're linked. And the Gemara came back and unlinked both of them. Rav Huna can come back and say, I can agree with everybody. Rav Yitzchak says, I can agree with everybody, and therefore we don't have a proof. Okay, right, but Tosfos is a big Tosfos here, and it seems that his direction is that it's mutter, hayav hutra does apply, and that is the prevailing halach. Okay.
Which would mean whatever was before is what it
stays throughout Shabbos, but not for next Shabbos, correct. Okay. So we got one last little shtickle before we can officially say we ended the parak. We finished the parak. Okay, back to the Gemara. 2 dots right before the Mishnah. V'cham oimrim echad mishnei dvarim. Right. So we had that fourth opinion that when we learned it, we said, "What's going on with this fourth opinion?" This fourth opinion seems to be exactly like the Tanna Kama.
Did I daydream or did we skip the Rabbi Yitzchak Amri Afil the Rabbi Yehuda? I missed that.
When you're talking about in the Gemara and Rashi.
Yeah, we did.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Let's see here. One second. Yeah. Yes, we did that. Right. Okay. So Chum say one of 2 ways is valid. Basically, they don't buy into this concept that this is called a deficient mechitza, this horizontal to the vertical, and it's all good. It sounds like exactly what the Tanna Kama said. Tanna Kama says it was all good. I don't give you limitations, right? You don't have to be a caravan. There's no limitations if you need more than 2 saws, like Rabbi Yossi Bar Yehuda. So what exactly is being added by the Chacham over the Tanna Kama? Hainu Tanna Kama. Gemara says no. Ika benayu yochid b'yishuv. There is a difference between the 2 opinions. Can an individual pull this off in a city, in an inhabited place, or is this only relegated to travel? When you're traveling, if you're 1 or 2 guys, the Tanna Kama gives you carte blanche. But the Tanna Kama wouldn't necessarily give you carte blanche if you want to pull this off in Manhattan. Okay, and if you can find based on Manhattan that's open, maybe Central Park somewhere, whatever. But the other one will say no. It's even in Diorin, even in a place where there are in the Yishuv, where there people are inhabited, and it's very busy. I'm still going to give you this heter. That's enough coming between the Tanakama and the Chachamim. Let's take a look at Rashi. Hainu Tanakama Rabbanon Kamoi Damrin Lo Dibru Bishara El Bahove. Okay, the Tanakama, who are the Rabbanon, the first Rabbanon, who say we're not talking specifically only by a caravan. El Bova, we just pick caravan because caravan is the typical situation. But forever, an individual also would be allowed to use this allowance of these makeshift mechitzas. So what exactly is the difference? And the more answer is the difference is an individual in the Yishuv. The Tanakam, the Kamalo Dibra Bishar Elabaheva, the Tanakam who says we're not talking about a caravan just because it's a normal situation. Okay, but right, what does he say? But even a Yochid can take advantage of this allowance of these makeshift mechitzas. You have to look at the context of what he's talking about. Yochid Dumi de Shayara. So the Rashi is explaining how we're separating the two opinions. How do we know who says what? So the Tanakam who's talking to Rabbi Yehuda, who says only Shayara, is talking the same context as the Shayara. Okay, the Bederach, that's talking about when you're on the road. You're traveling between two cities and you want to, take advantage of these mechitzas to get yourself ready for Shabbos. That's where we're going to allow these allowances. And the Yachid also can take advantage. Since you can make a proper mechitza. We're not right, but not in the Yishuv where you can easily make a proper mechitza. You're not in tough. You just go into Home Depot and get yourself more stuff that you need. We're not going to allow this in a very inhabited, normal, area. Okay, so the whole allowance that the Rabbanon of the first Rabbanon gave you was in the same context as Rabbi Yehuda of the Shayara, meaning that you're traveling. Okay, Rabbanan Basroi, but the Rabbanan Basroi, the last Rabbanan, Amilsa Rabbi Yossi, Rabbi Yehuda Kamahadra. They're going on. They're talking to Rabbi Yossi by Yehuda as the flow of the Mishnah dictates. The Kamar Iu Eina Mechitza Lo B'derech Lo B'Yishuv, because Rabbi Yossi by Yehuda's statement was an all-encompassing, across-the-board statement that I don't buy this stuff not in a Yishuv and not in a Midbar, not in the Derech. Lo B'derech Lo B'Yishuv. Rabbanan then say to him, no, Echad Mishay Dvarim. Okay, you can do any one of two things. Oh, Shesya Oher. If you want to go vertical, you go vertical. You want to go horizontal, you can go horizontal. Mechitzi, they're both valid mechitzas. Echad Yachiv, Echad Rabim. And the same across-the-board negative statement that Rabbi Yosef Yehuda made, he makes an across-the-board positive statement talking to Rabbi Yehuda. Whether it be a Yochel, whether it be Rabim, Bein Mederech, Bein Yishuv. So the very last opinion is the most makel. He says there are no limitations even when you're in an inhabited area. Yes, you walk into a Home Depot and get yourself a better mechitza? You can, but we're not going to make you do that. Well, the Tanakama will say, I only gave this heter when you're stuck, when you're out there in no man's land. But otherwise, you have to go into a place and get yourself regular mechitzas. Okay, so with this, we officially can say, Hadrulach Mavli, Hadrulach Mavli, Hadrulach Mavli. Okay, very good. So let's get to the second parak, and we're already familiar with this concept of Pasi Biros. So it says the Mishnah, Aysin Pasin Libiros, Abord Yumdin, Nira Kishmaina, Div Rabbi Yehuda. So the Mishnah teaches us, in the words of Rabbi Yehuda, that you are allowed to make these four-cornered, L-shaped, cropped-out walls for these wells that needed to be drawn from on Shabbos, and these wells are Rishus HaYachid. So in order to allow you to draw from the wells and to feed the animals and to have the people drink, then you're allowed to do this. Even though typically those four, they're really 8 walls, right? Because they're all L-shaped. So because they're L-shaped, then you're good to go. Even though typically it would not be good enough. Even though the openings would be too much to justify a typical mechitza, here we're going to allow it. Okay, so Divrei Yehuda. Okay, so that's the four that are really 8. Rav Meir Omer Shmeina Nira Kishnei Moser. So Rav Meir says no. You need 8 of these types of situations of the 4 corners, which are 4, and you have one standing wall in the middle, which narrows the gap, and that means you have a total of 8, right? The 4 corners and the 4 standalone walls. As what number is that?
1.
Oh, it's a new parak, so you get a new number. Oh, very nice. Okay, so we start the number line again. So back in this is number 1 of the second parak of the Pure Shlai.
You got one in the middle, depending on how far apart the corners are.
Yes, so we'll see. Yes, good point. Let's take Rashi will explain that. Rabbi says no 8 that appear like 12 because you have 8 from the corners. 8 plus 4 is 12, and that's when you're good to go. Okay. Abar Diomdim. So Rabbi is explaining what you need: 4 standing L-shaped corners, Yabab Pshutim, and 4 straight up standalone walls, and that's your 12.
Oh, that's 8. 4 is 8.
Well, yeah, but it's 12 because
Each corner is 2.
Double.
right. That's why he says 12.
Okay.
These 8 that appear like 12. Nira Kishnei Moser. That's the language of Meir. It's actually 8, but it appear like 12 because the corners are like 2. Okay. Goivan Asar Tfachim. How high do these things have to be? They must be 10 Tfachim high, which is the standard height for any mechitza. Rochvan Sheish. They must be at least 6 Tfachim wide. Okay, each individual board must be 6 Tfachim. Vavayin Kolshu, and the thickness could be any amount. We don't care about how thick those walls are, as long as they're walls. They could be quite thin. Ubeinehem, how much space, open space, is allowed to exist between each of these, of one wall to the next wall? Okay, so clearly in Rav Meir's world, it seems like he wants less space. In Rav Yehuda's world, he had more space. So let's take a look. So it's going to be 2 different opinions over here as to how much space you're allowed to have. So we are going to have 2 opinions. Okay, let's see. And the distance between one and the other is the distance between 2 groups of cattle. Okay, each one of 3. Right. So the cattle, they used to put them on these these harnesses and create these little groups of them. So you have 2 of them, each one of 3 bakar, which amounts to 10 tfachim. That's the shear that you cannot have more than that open space between them. Divrei Rav Meir. So it could have been, he just could have said, I said 10 amos, not 10 tfachim, 10 amos, right? Which is a conventional limitation of how big an opening could be. It can't be more than 10 amos. So Rav Meir really goes with the conventional wisdom, except he just gives you the sort of the lumnus behind it, because the reason why 10 amos, because that's how, if you have 2 of these teams of oxen that are coming in different directions, okay, that they can fill up, they can both go, one's coming from the well, one's going to the well through one opening. That's what you need in order to facilitate smooth usage of the well. So that's what you need. 10 amas. Rabbi Yehuda Omer, no. I allow even more. So we had this also earlier. Rabbi Yehuda Omer al shel arba kishuros v'lo mutaros. So even a team of 4 oxen, okay, is a big enough space that to allow 2 teams of 4 oxen coming in from different different directions. One's coming and one's going. Kishuros untied. Okay, tied v'lo mutaros, and not untied. So they have to be tied together. They have to be tightly, connected. They can't be loose. One comes in and one goes out. Okay, so maybe let's catch up on the Rashis here. Asara pasin osin pasin libiros. First Rashi in the second parak. Shabishus harabim. These wells are in a public domain. But the well itself is considered Rishus Yachid. Hein Shamukan Asar, because they're 10 deep, then Yochel Amalis Behen, okay, and you therefore, since you're standing in Rishus Harabim, and you try to access the water from Rishus Yachid, not a good situation. You can't just simply willy-nilly take water from them. So what do? Yosem pasan elu lahachin lahem hekif is you make these L-shaped crops to prepare a surrounding, a wall for them. To make the area around these boards, these L-shaped boards, surround the bar in a way where it makes the entire area into Rishus Yachid. Okay, and therefore you can fill up your pitchers, your pails, and you can take water out of there and put it down there. You can bring your animals in and they can drink. It's all good because now I've got myself Rishus Yachid. The Yoimdin Amudim Hanirin Kishtayim. The Yoimid are two standing walls that appear like two. Shasu Kemerzaf Shalonu. They're made like these L-shaped pipes or something. Shenoitsu Bekarka Lepas Droimis Maravis. When you stick them into the ground on the southwest side, so one of them is facing east, and the other one is facing north. Okay, so basically it's got both directions covered, so to speak. Okay, and the other one that's going south, northwest, right? That's same thing. One goes to Mizrach and one goes to the south, as in terms of the direction of the walls as it continues into the open space. When you put all four on all four corners, it would come out that for every direction you have 2 amos, because we said each one needs to be 6 tfachim. 6 tfachim is 1 amma. You've got 2 on the 2 corners, that gives you 2 amas per side. Okay, you've got Dofin amo, each wall is 1 amma. Can I get amma opposite the other amma, and you have the open space between them. So you've got each direction, because you get 4 L-shaped situations, you've got 2 ammas on each side, and you got a bunch of space in between. So then in addition, Rav Meir comes along and says, no, in addition to the 4 L-shaped situation, which look like 8, I require 4 pshutin. The emsat, right in the middle, luach rechava amma, you got to put a board 1 amma thick, 1 amma wide, not thick, wide. First, bar bay. Okay, Rav Meir pshutin. And what the Gemara is going to explain, as Michael was alluding to, what kind of situation requires these standalone walls. The Meir of Meir because Meir already agreed that you're allowed to have. There's just the 4-cornered situation as long as you don't have more than 10 amas, right? He just said you need just those 2 teams of cattle going through. So he does allow even without the middle wall. So we'll have to see which situation does he require that middle wall. We sort of can guess, in Rabbi Yehuda's world, he requires that middle wall. But let's see. Ubedeim shtei ravakos, tahainu eser amas, which is exactly 10 amas, because in the first Gemara, as Gemara will explain, vimpachos koshu. And if it's less than 10 amas, then for sure it's better. The less of the breach, the better we are. Kshuros chumrihi l'mayet mirevach shebenatayim. There's a chumrah to limit the distance between the two of them. The Gemara is going to explain why do I need the extra word? They're not untied. If they're tied, they're clearly not untied. So what exactly is going on there? And last Rashi, achas sefnesas v'achas yotzas kuluhu. This is a kula dolbinon eser mutzim samos ella shochakos. We don't need 10 exact, but even a little bit loose to allow these teams passage. They can be a little bit loose and not so tight. We'll pick this up tomorrow.